The Lighthouse Keeper on the rugged coast of Cornwall, where the cliffs met the restless sea, stood the ancient lighthouse of Evershore. For centuries, this solitary beacon had guided sailors through treacherous waters, its light a steadfast guardian against the perils of the deep. The lighthouse, with its towering presence and weathered stones, had seen countless storms and shipwrecks, and had become a symbol of hope and safety. The keeper of Evershore Lighthouse was a man named Thomas Gray. Tall and stoic, with a face etched by years of salty winds and hard work, Thomas had dedicated his life to the lighthouse. He had inherited the role from his father, who had inherited it from his father before him. The Gray family had been keepers of the light for generations, and Thomas felt a deep sense of duty and pride in his work. Thomas lived alone in the keeper's cottage, a cozy abode nestled at the base of the lighthouse. His days were spent maintaining the light, polishing the lenses, and ensuring the mechanisms were in perfect working order. At night, he would climb the spiral staircase to the lantern room, where he would light the great lamp and watch as its beams swept across the dark waters, casting its reassuring glow. Despite the isolation, Thomas found solace in his routine and the rhythm of the sea. He was a man of few words, content with the companionship of the waves and the seabirds that nested on the cliffs. Yet, there was a part of him that longed for something more, a connection, a sense of purpose beyond the lighthouse. One stormy evening, as the wind howled and the rain lashed against the windows, Thomas received an unexpected visitor. A young woman, drenched and shivering, knocked on the door of the cottage. Her name was Eliza, and she was a writer seeking inspiration for her next book. Her curiosity had led her to Evershore, drawn by the allure of the lighthouse and its storied past. Thomas welcomed Eliza into the warmth of the cottage, offering her dry clothes and a hot meal. As they sat by the fire, Eliza shared her passion for stories and her fascination with the sea. Thomas listened, intrigued by her tales and her lively spirit. It had been years since he had such engaging company, and he found himself opening up, sharing stories of the lighthouse and the adventures of his ancestors. Eliza was captivated by the lighthouse and its keeper. She spent the next few days exploring the cliffs, taking notes, and sketching the rugged landscape. She would join Thomas in the lantern room at night, watching as he tended the light and listening to his deep, calm voice recounting the history of Evershore. As the days turned into weeks, a bond formed between them. Eliza's presence brought a sense of joy and renewal to Thomas's life, while he provided her with the inspiration and insight she had been seeking. They shared quiet moments of reflection, watching the sun set over the ocean and the stars emerge in the night sky. One evening, as they stood together in the lantern room, Eliza asked Thomas a question that had been on her mind. "Why do you stay here, year after year, all alone?" Thomas gazed out at the horizon, the light casting a soft glow on his face. "The lighthouse has been my family's legacy for generations. It's my duty to keep the light burning, to guide those at sea and protect them from harm. But more than that, it's where I belong. This place, these cliffs, they are a part of me." Eliza nodded, understanding the depth of his connection to the lighthouse. "It's a noble calling," she said softly. "And it's clear that you're more than just a keeper of the light. You're a guardian of hope." The storm that had brought Eliza to Evershore had long passed, and the days grew calmer. Yet, as the time for her departure approached, both Thomas and Eliza felt a sense of sadness. They had found something precious in each other's company, a connection that neither had expected. On her last evening at the lighthouse, Eliza presented Thomas with a gift, a leather-bound journal. "For your stories," she said, smiling. "So that you can share the legacy of Evershore with others." Thomas took the journal, touched by her thoughtfulness. "Thank you, Eliza. This means more to me than you know." As they stood on the cliffs, watching the sun dip below the horizon, Eliza made a promise. "I'll return, Thomas. This place, and you, have become a part of my story. I'll come back to visit, and we'll share more tales." Thomas nodded, his heart full. "I'll keep the light burning for you." Eliza departed the next morning, leaving Thomas with a sense of both loss and hope. He resumed his duties, the lighthouse standing as a beacon against the endless sea. But now, there was a new light in his life, the promise of Eliza's return and the stories yet to be written. Thomas began to write in the journal, filling its pages with the history of the lighthouse, the adventures of his ancestors, and his own reflections. The act of writing brought him a new sense of purpose, a way to preserve the legacy of Evershore and share it with the world. Seasons changed, and the years passed, but the lighthouse remained a constant, its light unwavering. True to her word, Eliza returned, her visits bringing joy and renewal to Thomas's life. They continued to share stories, dreams, and quiet moments by the sea. And so, the lighthouse of Evershore stood tall and proud, a symbol of hope and resilience. Its keeper, no longer alone, found a deeper connection to the world through the power of stories and the bonds of friendship. The legacy of the lighthouse lived on, not just in the light that guided sailors, but in the hearts of those who tended it and the tales that were told within its walls.